This episode may contain strong language. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of the 22 Dropouts. We are a YouTube show and a podcast available on Acast, Spotify, or wherever else you happen to get your podcast from. Welcome from all of us. Hope you're still staying safe, staying well, and staying within lockdown. It's a frustrating time for all of us, but please follow whatever local advice there is and make sure that you're safe, ready for the next season. It's a bit of a depleted 22 tonight. So, in fact, one of my 22 is messaging me now and says he's just run the bath. So James up in Scotland, we'll wait until you're out the bath before we see you on video. Other than that, we've got all the way from Kenya. We've got Lawrence. How you doing, man?
I'm good, Mike. How about you?
Yeah, fantastic. How's your week been?
Pretty a lot, trying to get some new skills on carpentry and also poultry farming.
Poultry farming?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay.
Gobble, 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 gobble. I take it you, your parents or whatever, run a poultry farm, do they, mate?
I actually do. Not my parents, but
You run it?
Yeah.
You do. Oh, what an entrepreneur.
Just trying to.
Mate, we learn something new about you every day, don't we? So there is one thing that I'm not going to learn that's new about you, and that's that you still can't drink beer. Am I right?
Yeah, sure.
Boo.
Boo. Now, we should mention that the reason that Lawrence can't drink beer is not that he's not allowed to by his mummy and daddy, or that he's too young, but actually in Kenya, their lockdown prohibits the sale of alcohol, doesn't it, mate?
Yeah, sure.
You were really upset.
Shocking.
You know that?
I do know that, mate. Chris over in Stoke, how are you, mate?
I'm good, Michael. How are you?
All the better for seeing you, son.
And that's the first lie you've told tonight. How many million?
Well, do you know what? We've got further this week before I told a lie than last week when you dropped the F-bomb.
Well, you see, I'm being good tonight.
Where's your chin strap gone?
It's gone. It's never coming back. Ever. That's it. I'm staying clean shaven and it's never coming back. I took a look
Lawrence
in the
has
mirror.
been saying that ever since he was about 14 when he tried to shave.
I took a look.
Lawrence has been trying to shave for the last 5 years, haven't you, Lawrence? It's just like, oh shit, there's no hair.
Yeah. No, I have, but I regularly shave.
Yeah, no.
I took a look in the mirror. Like I was brushing my teeth last week. I took a look in the mirror and it was like, no, it really does look horrendous, doesn't it?
We knew it looked horrendous for weeks, but we were much more inclined to let you carry on.
Yeah, just so you can take the piss on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, Lawrence, I guess you're on the water, are you?
Yeah, definitely, no doubt.
And Chris, what
I thought
about
you branched out to Fanta, mate. I thought you branched out to Fanta.
I was just too busy today, so I couldn't go to the shop and get one.
Mate, seriously, too busy. We're in the middle of a global pandemic lockdown. What the hell have you had to do that make you can't go to the shop?
Leave it alone.
Yeah, I was feeding my chicken.
See?
Is it just one chicken, or do you have more than one?
Actually, I have a peacock. A very, very big
What have you got, Lawrence? You've got a
peacock.
Love that. That is spectacular.
Mate.
I wasn't ready for that. I thought you said, I'm not gonna lie, I thought you said peacock at first. I was like, that's a different kind of chicken.
I'm really going to regret this, and I'm going to apologise to the viewers and the listeners right now. But Lawrence, please describe your big cock to me.
Okay, first, it's around 6.5 kilos.
Whoa!
And also, it is multicolored.
Now,
There's just too many jokes, I can't.
can we cut that? Because I've just lost it now. Oh dear. I'm leaving this in, I tell you. Right, Lawrence.
Yes.
Just for evidence, next week
Yes.
we want to see a photo of your big cock.
No!
Actually, I'm going to hold it.
Maybe we should call next week the big cock episode.
Sure.
Kettle of fishy in my.
Chris, we know what he's drinking. What have you got tonight?
So unfortunately, I am on the Estrella tonight. I know. Listen, my survival kit ran out.
Hang on, you're the only person that must go on about your beer survival kit. Tell us a bit more.
So in it, there is 10 bottles of beer. There is 2 placemats, 2 quizzes, 2 packets of crisps, and 2 of these wonderful glasses, as Michael likes to say, because he thinks he's from Buckinghamshire. Wonderful half-pint glasses from Limestone Brewery with a Y. Because I'm nice, I did save one of the bottles to show off. This is the Stone the Crows. It's their darkest ale that they do. It's a lovely 5.4% number, and it's just fantastic.
If you didn't see it last week, go back and check out back catalogue, but particularly episode 5, where Chris does the unboxing of the Limestone Brewery survival kit. Where can they get that from, Chris?
You can get it straight from their website, which is limestonebrewery.net.
And that's Limestone with a Y.
The Y.
Well, I tell you what, I did something similar today. I went to the Staffordshire Brewery, which is in Cheddleton and Leeds, and I'm currently on their Rudyard Ruby Premium. Ian, who you may remember from a few episodes back, with the one with the weird haircut that looks a bit like mine now. Ian's in the army. He's a panel AR. He's a member of the Army Referees Society and the Notts and Derby as well. Now, Ian did say to his boss a few weeks back, if I do a little bit extra at other times of the week, can I have Monday nights off to do my podcast and show? And of course the answer was yes. In typical Army fashion, however, they've come back to him and gone, Ian, just need you to do something for me this Monday night. And that sort of carried on for the last 3 weeks. So unfortunately, Ian can't join us at the moment. But Ian, to you, to all those troops who are manning the coronavirus testing centres across the UK, to all our NHS workers, to all our other frontline workers, to everybody who is going out there to try and keep us safe and well, regardless of what country you're in, we're going to raise a glass to you tonight and say a big cheers and a big thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
So Daryl joins us now, straight from Suffolk. He's a bit late because he's managed to spill some water all over the laptop. Daryl, are you a?
I'm definitely a fan of that. Yes.
I don't know how to take that, mate. I really don't know what to say to that. Look, Chris has fallen off his chair. Lawrence, you've got a big cock, haven't you? Can you show it to Daryl for me?
Stop!
So,
generally people who don't talk about them. Yeah?
So Daryl, how's your week been, mate?
Week's been pretty same as every other week, really. Get up in the morning, bit of home teaching. I relearned what I knew about biology this week. I've done some history homework, some trigonometry. Yeah, that biology bit's got to come yet. He's 11, but I'm sure there's a discussion to have around the sock at some stage.
So, Daryl, I see you're on the Guinness Clear tonight.
I'm on very much the Guinness Clear, yes, very much the Guinness Clear. It's been a heavy weekend.
What's all this rubbish about Rugby Hollywood? Have you heard that this week?
I have. Right, so here you go. It's essentially going to be like an Indian Premier League of cricket for rugby. So the way the Indian Premier League works is it runs in the cricket off-season, and they nick players from the UK and Australia and other places, the sort of superstars. They get chucked into a league, T20 cricket, blah, 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 blah. America have gone, we want to do something similar to that, just not the nicking the players part and actually having them all season long. So they want it to have a 7 million salary cap, which is the same as the Premiership. There's going to be 8 teams, so there's only going to be 16 games in a season, which is half of what there is in the Premiership. So that could entice people to come because they get more recovery. It will run in the NFL off season, so from April to about sort of July, August time.
So it seems to be, like you say, a bit like the Indian Cricket League thing, where they sort of entice people over for big bucks to play under floodlights and do half the amount of work for double the amount of money. Is that right?
Pretty much, in short, yeah.
James up in Scotland. Hello. This is getting confusing now. So we've got an Englishman who lived in Wales, who now lives in Scotland. He's called James. And we've got a Scotsman living in Malta who's too tired to come and join us tonight. So how's things up in Jockland, James?
Cold. We had snow yesterday.
No, I mean, it's cold here, but... Lawrence, did you have snow yesterday in Kenya?
Yeah, actually. We've been having for the past week.
honestly then, before he started smiling, I couldn't tell if he was being serious or not. Like, his face was just so dead, I couldn't tell you.
So, Lawrence, how does the snow affect feeding your big cock?
Stop!
Yeah, so...
So, how's lockdown treating you then, mate?
We're getting there. We're getting no direction, of course, from the wonderful thing that is the First Minister.
What, Jimmy Cranky?
Yeah, that's the one. We Jimmy. And it's a case of it's definitely snafu. If you don't know what that is, it's situation normal or fucked up.
There we go.
There's just no let up. We don't know.
But the good news is, mate, you must have beer, or you must have wine, or you must have whiskey, and you're enjoying yourself.
Orange juice.
Could have been worse. It could have been iron brew.
I was going to say it's not radioactive.
James, I don't know why we haven't had you on every week, but I don't know why you live in Scotland either. Anyway, we are supposedly talking about all things Sevens tonight, and we're joined in a moment by a couple of guests. One guy who runs the Tournament Finder website, which you may have seen online and on Social Minder. On social media. We are also joined from France, from the French Sevens team, Jonathan Legel, or Jonathan Legel, as he said. So we're going to take a short break now, and we will be back with our 2 guests right after this.
When you need clear and concise match official communication systems,
look no further than the brand new Axiwe AT350.
Radios are always useful, they always help us, especially the Axies, where all three of us can be open at any time, we can have open communication.
Available now from refcomsglobal.net. Investing profits into match official development worldwide. Welcome back to the 22 Dropouts. We are a YouTube show and a podcast available on Acast, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. Hope you're downloading all of our back catalogue. You can download. You can download our back. I'm not going to do that again because I can't be bothered to edit afterwards. So you can download our back catalogue on any of the platforms. Anyway, do connect with us on our social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search at 22 Dropouts. Now, tonight, amongst all the things that are Lawrence's big cock on his farm, we are trying to talk about sevens rugby, and first of all, I want to go over straight away to France and talk to Joe. I would, except just on my screen right now, Yorkie's just joined in and usurped Joe from his space on my screen. Yorkie, wait your turn, lad. Yorkie, wait your turn. So here's Joe. Here's Joe. Joe, hello. How are you? I finally got around to talking to you.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me tonight. I have to say that I'm pretty much excited to take part in this podcast simply because this is my first time as a podcast guest.
If this is your only experience of podcasting, it will be your last.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Someone contacted me on LinkedIn and asked me to do another podcast and to be another podcast guest. So I hope it's not going to be my last time. We'll see.
Man in demand. Yeah. So Jonathan, for those who don't know, it's Jonathan Rozelle. Is that right?
Yeah, Jonathan Rozelle. This is the English way to say my name. And otherwise, you can say Jonathan Rozelle. This is the most common way to say my name in French. Up to you.
I'll stick with the English thing.
I'll stick with Joe. That's okay.
Joe. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself then.
Yeah, so I'm an international rugby 7 player playing for the French rugby 7s team. I've joined the team in 2012. I played more than 65 international and European tournaments with this team, including the Olympics in 2016 in Rio. And before joining the French rugby 7s team, I also played 15 with Racing Métro, Racing 92. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it. Like you, I'm currently in the lock in the west of France, trying to keep in a good shape, to stay in a good shape.
So in France, it's not quite like it may well be in other nations. Although you're part of a centrally contracted squad, you're not contracted for 100% of the time, are you?
Yeah, exactly. So currently, I make the choice to be contracted 80% of my time because I wanted to work beside rugby. I decided to work 20% of my time with a company beside rugby. So I worked for Capgemini for a year and a half. But unfortunately, in March, I was supposed to renew my contract with this company. But because of the current crisis, they freeze all of the hiring. So I'm not working anymore 20% of my time, but I'm still employed as a rugby professional player 80% of my time. But that's my own decision because most of my teammates are contracted 100% of the time with the French rugby, with the French Federation. I have a lot of space, large field, so I can still run and doing some push-ups and some stuff like that. I also have a rugby ball, so I can do some exercise by myself. So it's a little bit boring as rugby is a collective sport. So I'm with myself, and I'm also trying to sometimes watch rugby games. I'm trying to watch rugby games to just keep the connection and with rugby and stuff like that.
It's interesting because I keep watching rugby games and imagining how good I might be as well. It's much easier than actually doing any training. Did you play much in this season's series?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I played. So we played 6 tournaments out of 10, and I played 6 of these tournaments. So yeah, we play 60% of the competition now, the championship, and we are still we don't know if the Paris tournament and London tournament are going to be postponed. So we will see. Mike, I think Mike, you're reading something that could be shared now. So please tell me.
I'm Joe, look at Lawrence, bless him. Lawrence, Joe, I'm sure you've seen the comedy Hello, Hello.
No?
No? Okay. It has. How can I put this delicately?
Now listen very carefully. I will say this only once.
Yeah. So I, as Chris said, I was just pissing by, so I thought I'd group in. So all the others, mate, are taking the mickey because of Hello, Hello.
It's wrong. It's wrong.
A very famous person once said.
I'm going to say, when you say all the others, I think you mean
It
Christopher.
I think I mean Chris. I do mean Chris, and there's Chris on the screen. He's about to bow his head in shame, and he's going to apologise to Joe now on television. Christopher, apologise to Joe.
I'm very sorry, Joe, for disrupting your wonderful interview with the 22 dropouts. It won't happen again.
Yeah, but I would
And
like better understand
apologise for
hello,
your
hello.
racial stereotype.
It's not a racial stereotype. We're taking the piss out of TV show.
In all seriousness, mate, what's your thought that's going to happen with the World Series now? Because as you say, we're 60% the way through. We were supposed to have Paris and London in the not too distant future. Obviously, Singapore and Hong Kong have already been postponed, and they're postponed back till October at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your personal opinion on what's going to happen this year?
Honestly, I don't really know, because if any of you have ever seen a Rugby 7 tournament, you can see how much logistics there is, and also for the players. So once the players are in the stadium, we are all together sharing 1, 2, or 3 locker room, which means that we are 4 teams per locker room. So there is a lot of contact. Obviously, we are all together in the same ice bath after the game. So I think that for TV and for
I'm not. There is absolutely no way. I did it once in Dubai, and I went to about there, and I was not going any further.
Yeah.
And there are photographs to prove
there is a limit.
There is
a limit under your belly button. There is a limit under your belly button that is really hard to go through.
I believe in healing through heat.
Okay.
So, but I know what you mean. It
good
is.
wine,
So,
no?
No. if they fill if they fill that bath up with a good cognac or a good red wine or a Chateau Neuf de Pape,
no
then I would be the first one in, and I would dive in head first.
Yeah.
If you put ice in it, I'm out of there unless it's got gin and tonic in it. Okay.
You're picky, Mike. You're too picky.
I am, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I only had to share my ice bath with 42 other referees. But you're right. Even in Dubai, I think there is, and that's a huge stadium for sevens. And I think there are, I think two teams per change room in Dubai. Is that right?
Yeah, in Dubai, exactly. Yeah. So last time we were with things that was with Spain, but obviously each tournament we are 2 or 3 teams per locker room. So there is a lot of contact, a lot of maybe jams or some stuff like that. So it's kind of difficult to see myself playing and participating again in any tournament very soon. So I don't know how they can sanitize this. I've heard that there is some certification now for big sports events. And so, yes, the organizer can implement some safety rules and get that certification to make sure everyone, including the athletes, are in a safe environment. So it might be one of the key steps to play rugby again and to play big tournaments like the one in Paris, London, and Hong Kong, maybe Singapore. But
I was chatting to a friend of mine in Singapore this week, and the sponsors are obviously very, very keen to keep rugby going and to get the tournament on. I can't see any more this season. I think this season's sevens is done. It's a shame, but I think that's where we are. And to me, in another way, that's not a bad thing, because I'm going to come to Joe in a second for your opinion. We've seen this season an amalgamation of the men's and the women's together on the same circuit more and more. And I absolutely 100% endorse that. And it works at places like Dubai or in America, where we've got a number of pitches, but then we get this real strange anomaly within the series that we go to certain stadia, like Twickenham, for example, which will only have the one pitch operating, and you cannot fit the entire competition in. You can do the pool stages and then a cup competition for men and a cup competition for women, but you can't do any of the other competitions, the shield, the plate, the trophy. And that means that teams are not able to get World Series points. How does it feel from a player's point of view, Joe?
I would say that from my point of view, it brought much more attention to the pool game. Because now we can access the semi-final if we rank first in the pool. So now each game during the pool phase is like a final for us, even if it was the case before, but now it's much more important for us. So like in New Zealand, Hamilton, during the Hamilton tournament, we went through the final. We lost against New Zealand 25-7 or something like that. But we were lucky to go in a semi-final against England. And when I say lucky, I mean that it wasn't the most difficult team to play against during this tournament. And
you're going to get the story in somewhere.
And this is but lucky. I would like to say lucky us and lucky them, because we had a really intense game. We won at the last minute, and yeah, obviously they're really good, but we won, we beat them, and so we were able to go through the final. So I want to say that for good team like France, it can open some opportunity. This new concept can open opportunity for us. I would like to say also that that's kind of hard for also athletes, because, for example, girls start their day around 8:30 or 9. But when you have to start your day at 9, that means that you have to wake up around 6 or sometimes 5:30. And that's a really long day to start playing to wake up at 6 and then having its last game at 6 or 7. That's a really long day. And I've done that before a few years ago. And that's really intense. And sometimes you don't really let your body having enough rest and relax. So it can be hard from this point of view.
Well, just bear in mind what our guys in the refereeing pool go through, especially when I have to share the same floor as your women's team in Dubai, and they were up in the corridor playing card games for so long at night, and we're there all the way through. And it's Daryl will testify. It's a tough old day for refs, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, I think you've got, I think exactly as Joe was talking about, you're up at 6 in the morning. By the time you're on your first game at 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m., and you could be involved in the last game at 9 o'clock at night. I mean, last time I was at Dubai, I was involved in 32 games across 3 days, either as a referee or as an assistant referee, that's pretty tough work. Yeah, 10 games a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spacing out. But I think when you get to the big tournaments, what's really great for us as match officials is that we're able to have physios on hand to keep us going, and actually we do use them a bit like you Joe, you professional players are using them as well. I think without those, I don't think a lot of people would be able to make it through the day. So they constantly go in for massages on the calves, on the hamstrings, because it is a lot of work. I mean, last year in London, I was the technical controller, so I was controlling the substitutions onto the pitches, and basically I was on my feet for 8 or 9 hours a day, with about a 20-minute lunch break, and that was really, really tough. I'm not getting any younger, so but it's really enjoyable to be involved with, even though it is hard work.
There's a reason you were on your feet for that long in London, and that's because it was so cold last year, and I think it rained as well, that you've got to stay on your feet just to keep warm. At least in Dubai, they give you plastic chairs to sit on so that you can sweat. But no, I mean, Daryl's absolutely right. In Dubai, come day 3, my first port of call was straight into the physio's bench, and everybody starts taking the mickey out of you. Actually, have a massage before the day starts, as if you getting through to the end of day 3 as a referee are much, much greater if all your muscles are nice and warm and relaxed. Anyway, enough about that level. All the way from Holland, we've got the man that is tournament finder. It's Jonathan Melvin. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. You? Thanks for inviting.
Yeah, we're good. I noticed there's a bit. I couldn't ask. Don't tell Joe. But I couldn't ask him what he's drinking just in case his strength and conditioning coach is watching. But he'll tell me later. Look at. See, I told you. I knew it. I knew it. He's on the Guinness.
It's Monday.
However, you see, Monday. Right, guys, look. Monday is the new Saturday, okay? We do this on the Monday, therefore we can drink on the Monday. End of. That's it. We don't drink on the Saturday, we drink on the Monday instead. That's the new rule. I don't care what you think after that, because that's it. Right. John, so what are you drinking tonight?
It's called Wolf No. 7. It's a Belgian beer. Can you see that?
Whereabouts? Ooh, look at that. He's doing that, isn't he?
No way.
So I don't know. Should we have a wolf for anybody who's that way inclined, and a big cock for Lawrence? I just don't know.
Stop it, man.
There you go. You see, I was able to scroll across my screen, select Lawrence's picture, tap it so that he came up before he laughed, and that's just the delay getting to Kenya.
Kenyan Wi-Fi.
Kenyan Wi-Fi! High five for Kenyan Wi-Fi!
It's faster than Scottish Wi-Fi.
Cheers, Ben. Scottish Wi-Fi, mate. So thumbs up for Kenyan Wi-Fi. Anyway, so John, tell us a little bit more about your beer, and then tell me lots and lots and lots about your website.
The beer is the first time I've ever had it. It's a Belgian beer. It tastes good. That's about all I can give you. It's a blonde, I think. Well, it's a blonde. I can know that much. I'm drinking it. But yeah, that's for that one. I bet.
Mate, you're the only one that can tell us, because we're not there.
Well, I can read it off the screen if you like. It's a golden blonde beer with a beautiful firm white head.
You should drink water.
Mate, you seriously do as much research as we do, I'm afraid. I don't know why York is laughing. He does no research whatsoever. In fact, he turns up late and then starts chuckling, and we have to then explain a French joke to a Frenchman, which is not good. Yorkie, it's your fault. Anyway, hey, John, just hang on a minute. Yorkie, can you just pan round a little bit like that with your camera?
I'm not in the yacht today.
You're not on the boat.
No, I'm on dry land. in the dry dock.
You know what? You know why that is, don't you? It's because last week we talked about your daddy taking a bribe to buy the yacht. Clearly, he's had to sell the boat and put you back on dry land.
Yeah, unfortunately so.
No, shut up and let John speak. So, John, now we sort of found each other through social media, didn't we? About sevens, because in terms of community type rugby or semi-pro rugby, you're quite the man at the moment, aren't you?
I don't go that far, but
no, you are. Just agree with me. Agree with me.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'm the man.
Take it and run.
I'm trying my best to keep people updated on what different tournaments are doing. Mostly in the UK, but further afield if I see it too. I spend a lot of time on social media because, as you probably know yourself, most of the tournaments are on Twitter, and they update when they feel like it, and they don't tell anyone else, it seems, when they're doing things. So it's just constantly scanning through tournaments I know about, talking to people like yourself that go to multiple tournaments, and then just trying to contact whoever I can to find out what dates people are doing, whether they're still going to be doing the event, and what new dates they're thinking of trying out as well.
I don't want to make you sit there and reel off a list of dates of things that are and aren't happening, but just give us a rough idea of the way that this has affected stuff that you've seen, and roughly what you think in terms of tournaments that have rescheduled, others that are just carrying on regardless, a bit like a low, and others that are just saying no, enough's enough.
So obviously the early spring ones, a lot of them, the sort of social fat boys and things like that, they're just off the calendar. Some of the ones that are a bit later, and some of the ones that are larger tournaments, like your Bournemouth, they're trying to keep on going. So they're moving their date, well, in Bournemouth's case, to the last weekend of August. There are some that are sort of somewhere between that, and it sort of corresponds in that they're saying we're trying to do August, but we're not too sure. So from usually August is one or two tournaments, or not many tournaments. Now, if everyone does what they're saying, if everyone does what they say they're going to do, then August is going to be one blinding month of rugby sevens.
Joe, do you fancy coming over to England for a month in August?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thanks. So thanks for the invitation.
What really do you think is going to happen to the amateur stroke semi-pro? I mean, we've seen the Super Series in the UK is already gone. That's it.
They're trying to do one event, aren't they?
They want to do one event in Bury. They want to do one event in Bury, but the tournament as a whole has just been scrapped for this year.
What date is that one?
That is on the 9th of August.
August. So it's almost pre-season training.
That's unlikely to happen, isn't it? We're not going to have contact rugby on the 9th of August.
No, I don't think so.
No.
What might end up being one that might have a chance is Sparkle Sevens. It goes to school on the 6th of September. That's maybe September, possibly. I know I've looked at some of the stuff that's come out from the Dutch RFU, and they're already letting kids train. But if they keep the sizes down, if they keep washing the balls, and if they keep the social distance, that's just like passing drills and stuff. And on the documents at the moment, it says possibly the start of September we could get contact, but it's like a maybe. And we over here started the social distancing about a week before the UK did.
Daryl, what's your opinion? When are we going to restart? And I'm not going to hold you to this, mate. Don't worry, I'm not going to sue you if it's wrong. In your opinion, when are we going to see rugby again?
I don't think we'll see any rugby at the non-professional level until at least October. I think also there'll be a lot of discussion, I'm sure, around what that will look like in terms of whether it will be full contact or not. the professional game.
I've got my touch referee top ready.
Well, you're off to Barcelona, are you? Yeah.
He's not good. He's not good enough to go to Barcelona, mate. He's not good enough for that.
And also, he'll need to have his 14-day quarantine when he comes back. But I think on the professional front, I think they're still looking at trying to see if they can do something in July. So I think that's maybe where they're working towards. And I suppose it will depend on how quickly the lockdown restrictions start to move out. If we see a drastic change in lockdown restrictions in June, where people can start to go sport together, then that could mean that players could then start to prepare to play rugby. But I think, I think it's a real unknown, and I think I'm not privy to any specific information, but from what I read in the press, I think the RFU are really struggling to try and get any commitment from the government as to what will happen.
Yeah, so I think we're all off to the States because Trump says it's fine, and we're all going to go and do Denver and Salt Lake at the end of July and beginning of August.
Only if you inject yourself with Dettol.
Only if I inject myself with Dettol. I'm there with you, brother, to get rugby back on. Anyway, we will be right back after this break, and we're going to see what Joe and John have got in terms of rugby rumours. Take care. We'll see you soon. When the shelves are almost empty and you can't stop thinking about that blend of hops and barley, carefully crafted and slowly nurtured for a distinctive flavour, reach for your Limestone Brewery Survival Kit with 10 bottled beers, locally sourced crisps, beer mats and glasses. Buy yours now at limestonebrewery.net. That's Limestone with a Y. Welcome back to the 22 Dropouts. We are a YouTube show and a podcast available on Acast and Spotify and wherever else you happen to get your podcasts from. Don't forget, in these lockdown times when you're bored and you need to get away from it all, to download our back catalogue, stick the headphones in, listen to everything, and of course viewer discretion and viewer listening is advised, usually because of Chris's F-bomb. After about 90 seconds, episode 5. Anyway, it's time for this week's rumor mill. I don't know why I did it like that, but there you go. So it is customary that we always ask our guests first what they've got in the rumour mill. So straight over to the west of France, and it's Joe. Joe, talk to us about your rumour.
Okay, Mike, so I think that I'm not going to surprise you because I've just read something.
I think you might.
I've read something that is terrific for us, for the team, that the Tokyo Olympic Games could be cancelled if coronavirus is not in control. So yeah, as you think, that would be helpful for us because we train for a couple of years now, and I don't really want us and the team to not participating this incredible tournament that is the Olympic Games.
No, you've been to the Olympics before, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I don't think anybody has ever been to the Olympics, and looking at most of us on the screen, we're never, ever, ever likely to go there unless we pay hundreds of pounds for a ticket. So, from an athlete's point of view, what's it like?
It's much bigger. And yeah, it's just incredible. You know, you're in this a big area with a lot of different athletes that are all playing and representing the countries, trying to get a medal. So that's just incredible to be with Rafael Nadal, to be with all of the other famous sports, famous athletes. And in terms of intensity, that was really the most incredible games that I've been able to play. And I do remember about a game against Australia, which was the first game of the 2016 Olympic game, and we beat them, and that was so incredible. And I also remember the few minutes before the game when, you know, I was just in the locker room, a little bit anxious and focused on myself. And when the time came to head towards the corridor, I just told myself that I'm going to join and be part of the Olympian family. And so that may be the greatest souvenir and memories that I had from this big event that is the Olympic game.
If there's nothing else that comes out of Holland, it's a good rumour.
What was that, sorry? About Holland, not a rumour.
Tried to make a joke and it's crap, so we'll just move on. What's your rumour, bud?
Well, as you guys just said, like, check out Rugby Pass, we've got nothing. And I looked on there, and it's got Brian Abana re-watches South Africa match. I was like, well, if that's the news the professionals have got, I've got nothing.
Before we go into real depth about your rumour that you've only just made up by watching, looking at Rugby Pass and hoping you could read quickly, we are going to say goodnight to Joe tonight, because he's already come from one barbecue and he's about to go to another one. So everybody, raise a glass, say goodnight to Joe, and say thank you very much. And we hope that the rest of your tournament and your year is great. And we'll speak soon, mate.
Thank you very much for having me tonight.
Thank you.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye now.
Yeah, Joe.
Hey, isn't it great when you've got so many barbecues and things that you've got to do? If only people would do that for me every Monday night.
You do.
So,
John,
You're having a barbecue the other day, so don't start that.
Yeah, no, I had a barbecue every bloody day, shut up. It's because the weather's better here than it is in Scotland. So, John, you've had another 60 seconds. What's your rumour?
Oh, hoping that's going to get me off the hook.
No chance, mate. No chance. I mean, in actual fact, all look at Daryl's picture now, because he's desperately trying to search through the rugby papers to find a good room. John, wave when you're ready. I can see you, but the viewers can't.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, John, nod if you
magic of
understand.
technology.
The magic of television. So, Tom, now, we normally come to Tom to find out what the hell has gone on with our rumours before, because usually Tom tells us the truth after we've claimed all sorts of things. So, I'm going to come to you for a couple of specifics now. Oh, Chris has gone for a nervous wee-wee again. Say bye, Chris, to everybody. Come on, everybody wave bye-bye to Chris's nervous wee-wee. Oh, hello, he's back. So, 2 weeks ago, Eddie Jones, is he leaving England?
No, not yet. Nothing's come out of there. He's still staying where he is, it seems. And as I predicted, obviously I was right. Long may it stay that way as well.
He's the one with the big head now. Obviously, I was right.
Mate, just to know what they've done. And are New Zealand leaving World Rugby?
Last time I checked, don't think so.
Sean
Again,
Maitland.
know what they've
Sean
done.
Maitland. Is he staying with Saracens or is he going to wherever he was going? Up Scotland.
Well, I've got a few rumours here from about sort of from the rugby paper around where players are going, especially those players that are currently at Saracens, and obviously we all know where Saracens are going next season. So although some of their players are staying, some of them are disappearing off for a year on a little holiday, and it seems a few of them are looking to go over to Japan to join some of their teams over there. Most recently, Alex Goot, who seems to have been linked with a move over to Japan just for the season before he returns back to Saracens, when they hope that they are able to come back up into the Premiership. Don't see how they wouldn't. But the rugby paper are trying to say at the moment that he's going to go and play for NEC, who are currently at the bottom of the Japanese top league, before obviously it was all postponed. There's obviously other players as well. Jorge Cruz is apparently poised to sort of announce his move to Japan. Again, that's something we have to wait and see with. As well as Hadley Parks and Owen Williams as well. They're apparently set to agree moves to the Far East. So we could see a whole contingent of UK and European players moving over to take the Japanese leagues by storm. But it's something we'll have to wait and see.
Right. We only asked you one question, but thanks for that.
I mean, he didn't answer my question. Sean Maitland.
What was your question?
Sean
No
Maitland,
idea.
He's
No
staying.
idea.
See, you're poor. Sean Maitland signed a new 2-year deal with Saracens today. Keep up to date, Yorkie. You're meant to be the man we go to for this stuff. Come on.
John,
Hello.
have you searched Rugby Pass yet?
Yeah, of course I have. Actually, going on from what we were just talking about with the Japanese thing just there, there's a story about the Sunwolves maybe relocating to Australia to try and get a small season going there without Argentina and South Africa because they're all in lockdown. Australia possibly coming out first. They're looking at having a small tournament there.
But we're going back to rugby in New Zealand in June, aren't we? 15th of June, they're hoping to start playing.
You see, this is the issue, isn't it? And it's the same with what Joe was talking about and what I was alluding to earlier with the World Series, is that it doesn't matter what country you're in. If your country, let's say for example, all of a sudden, end of July, there's no more coronavirus in England or the United Kingdom, and we're open for business, guys. The problem is you're bringing people in from around the world who've all got different contingency plans. They've all got different R rates on their contagion and various things like that. I just don't see it happening. And it's not because of the desire to make it happen. It's just the logistics of world rugby. I can see domestic things starting right towards the end of the summer, early autumn in different countries. But I can't see international rugby starting any time before the new year. Anybody got any different on that? What's your thoughts?
Well, I guess that's why they say relocate. It's actually talking about the team moving to Australia. So I guess they go over, spend 2 weeks in isolation, and then they can play.
Absolutely. Lawrence, what's it like? What's it like over in Kenya at the moment for rugby?
I really don't think the previous 15th season will actually go on, but it's good the 7th season comes in, it checks in, because now the players also will be properly conditioned for the game. So, I mean, there's no point of starting a game and giving players around 2 weeks just to set up their bodies to be in fit shape. It's rather they're given around 4 weeks or something before the 7th season starts.
I honestly can't see them turning around and saying, yes, we're going to run the 7 series, I'm afraid. I'd love them to. I just think that we're getting closer and closer and closer each day to somebody saying, no, it's not going to happen. And I hope not, mainly because we've all got our flights booked for the Safari 7s. But let's go away from Kenya for a moment. What's your rumour this week?
Okay, so I'm a little bit going into England Premiership.
You probably know more than this lot, mate.
It's not hard, to be fair.
All right, so Premiership players actually face having to sign disclaimers before returning to training due to fears clubs and doctors will not have necessary insurance policies to cover against coronavirus. So initially, World Rugby had issued guidelines urging clubs and unions to ensure that they are adequately prepared, adequately insured, but there's considerable doubt as to whether companies, the insurance companies, will offer that level of protection.
Daryl, what's the latest in terms of the Championship and the Premiership from refereeing point of view, based on things like that, or are we still completely in the dark?
So I said earlier, I think the Championship is finished until September, providing that we can kickstart it then. Premiership is still waiting to see what happens, I think, as a result of the restrictions in June being lifted, and still trying to forecast that they can play some games in July. But I don't have any more information on it. I think, as I said earlier, the RFU is struggling to get clarity from the government. I think we're probably, if I look at it at this point in time, I can't see us playing contact sport like rugby, even behind closed doors, till at least Q4. So, I don't even think our season will kickstart in September. I think there'll be a delay.
Even at the professional level?
Even at the professional, we may just be about ready to go in September, but that means that players have got to start training again in July. And then they've got to be taking contact in, we're going to have pre-season warm-up games in the beginning of August, which is what traditionally happens for them to play. So actually, really, they want to be training mid-June for that to happen. If you look at the normal window, most players will have time off after the Premiership final. Then, they'll be back in their clubs in July, training hard for pre-season in August, ready to kick off a season in September.
Bearing in mind what you just said in terms of they've got to build into it, I still don't see it happening before October.
Yeah, I got to say, I think it depends what happens in terms of the lockdown restrictions in the next sort of 8 weeks as to where they go. But you've already seen a lot of reports that players are going to need 6, maybe 8 weeks to get back to full contact. You've seen, you're right, I think a lot of players are taking this as their rest period, as their break period, quite rightly. A lot of players are going to be recovering from injury, or because these games are postponed, players that are on bans will also be able to come back and play. So I think, it's kind of watch this space until we can get back to a point where the government's restrictions are lifted and that we can train for team sports. We can't even then try and predict where we're going to go in terms of playing.
Yeah, it's Christ. It'd be nice to have some guidance. I know we can't have any. And we've all just got to sit back. We've got to do what we need to do. We've got to prepare however we need to prepare as individuals, whether that be players or match officials, or even people who run websites telling us what's on and what's off. James, what's new up where you are?
Well, just to add on to that little conversation there, they reckon it could even be November, December up here before we get any rugby at community level. And that would be an absolute tragedy, because Scotland hasn't got the big pool of players. There are other things that are taking players around. Now, the local rugby club Highland, they play in National 1, which is the equivalent of the Championship, if you will, in England, because there's only the Premiership, then National 1 and National 2, National 3, the national leagues. The second team should have been promoted into the local division, Caledonia 1, which doesn't give them such a big difference in league distance. The whole of the club train for National 1 level. But my rumour is the Aussies are trying to cheat again.
That's not the rumour, mate.
They're wanting 2 referees on a pitch, one to manage the breakdown and one to manage the offside line. For God's sake, if an Aussie referee can't, we know they can't manage the offside line anyway. If they can't manage the breakdown on the offside line, why the hell have they got a whistle in the round? They've got bloody touch judges anyway, so use them.
Hey, James, we're called assistant referees these days, aren't we, Darryl?
Yeah, we are called assistant referees, and we don't look out for that kind of thing.
Right.
That's mainly because the referee doesn't listen to us when we do.
Yeah, but there's ways and ways of doing it, as we all know. We've all done it. Are you sure you're happy with that offside line? Are you sure you're happy with that tackle? Or would you like me to put a flag in to save your ass?
There's a reason that the Welsh Rugby Union moved you to Scotland, didn't they, mate?
Yeah, they wanted to educate the Scots.
Oh, there we go.
Boom. But there are certain things you can say to make them pick their head up. And if it's clear and obvious that they're offside, they ask us for clear and obvious. So you give it to them.
So, gents, it's been a wonderful night as always. I don't know what we've actually got achieved tonight, but I've enjoyed it. I really have. So we've got a couple of minutes left, and I just thought I'd go round the room a little bit like an AGM, to see if anybody's got anything to say for 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, I'm going to kick you off. Chris.
Well, you skipped my
Thank
rumour,
you.
so that's
Bye
fine.
now. Bye. Yeah, James, any more? No,
Yeah.
James is busy on his phone.
No, he's not. He's looking up the exact date it was said. The SRU chief executive, where has it gone, actually said that as far as he's concerned, Dominic
15 seconds.
Dominic Mackay remains hopeful that November test schedule is going to go ahead.
Well, let's wait and see. We all remain hopeful, don't we? Lawrence,
Pass.
is your cock asleep? I can't get.
Just
we
look at
really
Chris'
shouldn't
reaction.
give Lawrence 15 or 30 seconds because it takes that long for the message to get there. Daryl,
They're the control the virus, save lives, whatever that means.
stay at home, enjoy your beer, have a laugh, listen to our
People
podcast,
like a
listen to
Get
our
out.
YouTube show.
Get
Tom,
out.
you got anything else to add? Go.
No,
good luck.
I'm all
well
done.
done. John.
Oh, some good news in the Netherlands, at least. We're allowed to start training now as adults, as long as we stay 1.5 meters apart. I've just translated a long document that was quite so long.
You heard it here first. So, thank you very much to my 22 tonight. Thank you very much to Jonathan. Thank you very much to Joe, Jonathan, Rozelle. I can't put his picture on the screen because he's fucked off. Thank you. He's got a better offer, and I can't argue with that because if I got a better offer, I'd fuck off as well. Good night to everybody. It's been a pleasure being with you all tonight. I've really enjoyed tonight. It's been one of those that's been absolutely wonderful, and we've had a great laugh. You won't know what the laugh it's been unless you go onto our YouTube channel, and you also look at the outtakes as well, because I have to edit this crap down into something that's usable. Do have a look at our social media channels, WhatsApp, yeah, no, not WhatsApp. Have a look at our social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 22 Dropouts. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube and your podcast channels. We'll see you all again in a week's time. Till then, from me, from my 22, stay at home, stay safe, stay beer laden. That's the key. Take care, all. Good night.
Good night.
Happy
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.